Hello guys. So in this session, we are going to learn application in ArgoCD. So let's start. So here, first of all, ArgoCD works on declarative configuration files, right? Such as Kubernetes manifest, then Helm chart, and other types of YAML files. So stored in Git repository, and the changes to this configuration file can be monitored and automatically trigger deployment to the target environment when changes are detected. So here an application in Argo CD is a representation of desired state of for the set of Kubernetes resources, and it is defined by a Kubernetes custom resources, that means CRD, right? So type of application which specifies the following information. So first of all, source. So what is source? The source of desired state which is typically a Git repository. Okay. So the source is a typically a Git repository. Then destination. So the destination cluster and namespace where the application should be deployed. Then next is manifest. So the manifest is the Kubernetes manifest that define the desired state of this application. So that's the three CRD types, right? Application types. The next is ArgoCD application. So what is ArgoCD application? So ArgoCD periodically compares the desired state of the application to the actual state of the resources in the destination cluster. And if there is any differences, ArgoCD will automatically deploy the manifest to the destination cluster to bring it into sync with the desired state. So that's a short information about ArgoCD, or you can say short definition of ArgoCD application. Okay. So in simple language, ArgoCD application means it's a declarative configuration file, right? ArgoCD works on declarative configuration files such as file, Kubernetes, and manifest, right? So here, ArgoCD simplifies the deployment of application via automated deployment, right, to Kubernetes cluster and GitOps continuous delivery approach. Okay. Then next is benefits, or you can say advantage of using application in ArgoCD. So first benefit is allow individual team to manage their application via Git. Okay. So ArgoCD is allow to individual team to manage their application using Git. Then next is use the same approach for both application and the application in application. Then third one is ArgoCD automatically prevents state drift by resyncing with the repository. So that's the benefits, or you can say advantage of using application in ArgoCD, right? Then next is advantage of using application in ArgoCD. So first is declarative, then GitOps, and then automated. So the declarative application are defined declaratively, which means that they are specified in terms of the desired state rather than the step to achieve the state. So this makes it easier to manage complex deployments and to reason about the state of your applications. The next is GitOps. So ArgoCD uses GitOps, which means that the desired state of the application is stored in a Git repository. And this makes it easy to track changes to the application, to collaborate on deployments, and to roll back to previous version. So that's the GitOps, right? The next one is automated. So ArgoCD automatically deploy the manifest to the destination cluster and to bring it into sync with the desired state. And that means that you don't need to manually deploy your application, right? That means we don't need to reply any manually your application. It's automated, right? Okay. Then it's declarative, then it's GitOps, and then automated, right? That's the benefits or advantages of using application in ArgoCD. Then what is the disadvantage of using application in ArgoCD? So depending on the number of teams, it requires a lot of application and application objects to separate configuration file data. For example, when every team has its own Git repository to manage application, then you would need a method to configure the initial application CRD. So that's the disadvantage, but as you can see, the advantage declarative, GitOps, and automated. Then next is when and how ArgoCD application can be used. So first is deploying a multi-container application. So here ArgoCD can be used to deploy a multi-container application to a Kubernetes cluster, and the manifest for the application can be stored in a Git repository, and ArgoCD will automatically deploy the manifest to the cluster, right? That's the deploying a multi-container application. Then rolling updates. So here ArgoCD can be used to perform rolling updates to an application, and ArgoCD will gradually replace the old pods with new pods and minimizing downtime, right? When we deploy an application, then ArgoCD updates replace the pods, right? That means when we deploy the application, then ArgoCD replace these old pods with new pods. And when you deploy any application, then you can see the timing, right? Few seconds ago, something minutes ago, and so on. So ArgoCD replace the old pods with the new pods. Then canary deployments. So ArgoCD can be used to perform canary deployments. ArgoCD will be deploy a new version of the application to a subset of pods, and then gradually roll out the new version to the rest of the pods. So that's the how and when ArgoCD application can be used. So first of all, here, as you know, how to deploy, how to create ArgoCD application as well as how to deploy our ArgoCD application, right? When we install our application in my previous session, right? In our previous session, we have learned how to install ArgoCD, right? And when we install ArgoCD, then in that session we have learned how to create application as well as how to deploy application, right? Then if you don't know how to create application and how to deploy application, then you can go to the previous session how to install ArgoCD, right? The next is here different methods to create application in ArgoCD. So how to create our ArgoCD method, ArgoCD, right? So ArgoCD application, sorry. So here, as you can see, here I mentioned some methods to create ArgoCD application. So first method is using ArgoCD UI. That means user interface. That means when we install our ArgoCD, right? In my previous session, we have learned how to install ArgoCD. So in that session, I have created my ArgoCD application, and also I have deployed ArgoCD application. So in that session, I have used user interface method, right? That means in that session, I have used ArgoCD UI method to create my application as well as to deploy my application. That means when we install our ArgoCD, then we will access the ArgoCD in browser, right? Then we are going to click on new app and then fill the details and then sync. That means we are using the user interface, right? So in that session, I have used user interface method to deploy my application as well as create my application. The next is using ArgoCD CLI. That means command line interface. So that's the second method. We can create our application using CLI, command line interface. That means we need to enter a command to create our application. We need to enter a command to deploy our application, and then we need to check our list of application. Then we need to check our pods, then service, and so on, right? So that's the using CLI. That means our in simple language, that means our terminal, right? So the second method is using ArgoCD CLI. That means using our terminal. Then third method is by writing YAML file. That means we need to create a YAML file, and in this YAML file we need to write some data that that our application need to create as well as deploy, right? So that's the methods to deploy our to create our application in ArgoCD using ArgoCD UI, using ArgoCD CLI, and by writing YAML file. That's the three methods, right? So that's the ArgoCD application, right? So as you can see, application in ArgoCD. So in this session, we have learned application in ArgoCD and how and what its work, right? Benefits, advantage, disadvantage, and when and how ArgoCD application can be used, and the three different methods of ArgoCD application create, right? So thank you for watching, and I hope you understand.